They want that cow bone dry. Speaking of bones, I wonder if we'll have a bone to pick with the Scion. Scion I hardly know on? Oh my god. Get out of here. Wait, where's that little... What is this? No. That, okay. Okie dokie. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this glorious creature here. This is the Scion. If you guys want to take a look at it too, I'll post it in the chat. If somebody wants to pin those, that would be super swell. If you don't want to pin those, I accept. I can also just share it again. All right. Let's take a look at this thing. It's the first new class since the Artificer. The Scion weaves magic through the power of their mind. They're going to have 4 subclasses. The Metamorph. I'll tell you... Okay, we're going to play a game of... Let's see if I guess right about what things are. The Metamorph is going to be like the Beast Barbarian. They're going to be a guy that changes their hands into swords and stuff. The Psi Warper is going to be somebody that I think deals mostly with teleporting. The Psi-Kinetic is going to be someone that deals with, like, throwing things around with their mind. And then I think the Telepath is going to be the Telepath. That's my guess. What's up, Gio? How's it going, buddy? They're going to have spells. They're going to have something called Wild Talents. A collection of feats that provide characters with a way to tap into psionic powers. Backgrounds represent their connect. Okay, so these are like... So this is for the new version of D&D where your backgrounds come with some origin feats. So these are like new origin feats. / just feats that you can take. Oh, so other people can take them too? Oh, that's fun. So it's sort of like also sneaking in some psychic feats. I have a fly in my room. I hate it. Yeah, but they're replacement origin feats that other people can take too. So if you want to be a fighter that's a little bit psychic, boom. All right, into it. We don't need to worry about any of this. Anything weird here? Persuasion. Why is persuasion on the list? Because they're psychic. Little guys. All right. What looks weird here? Let's see what's going on here. So, they're basically full spellcasters, but instead of having sorcery points, they have energy die. Or actually, they're more like Bardic Inspiration. How many Bardic Inspiration does a Bard have at level 1? Do they have 4? Two? So it's like Bardic Inspiration, but they get more of them. Where'd my drink go? Here it is. Might be closer to Battlemaster die. Yeah. I mean, they sort of introduced that system before. Let's see. Is anything weird with the spells? You're a spellcaster, Charlie. You know 2 psionic cantrips of your choice. Minor Illusion and Telekinetic Fling are recommended. Oh, they're recommending. Oh, we should take a look at what the spell list is. We'll do that. I don't want to do that first because I almost feel like that's boring. But unironically, that's almost more important than the class features when you have a full spellcaster. They're doing regular casting. You prepare spells? Oh, you only change them when you switch level. Okay. Let's look at some of these unique powers. Psionic power. You harbor a wellspring of psionic energy within yourself. This energy is represented by your psionic energy die. Your psionic level determines the die size and number of psionic energy die you have, as shown in the energy die and number of die columns of the psionic features table. Okay. We figured that out on our own because we're very clever. We're very clever. They're used to enhance certain and fuel certain features. Whoa, why is the highlighting like that? That's weird. You can't highlight one column at a time? Okay, document. You start with two features, telekinetic propel and telepathic connection. So they're almost like... Okay, well, let's keep reading. Let's keep reading. It almost feels like it's like a subset of spells. Okay, so you get telekinetic propel, telekinetic connection. Some of your powers expend the psionic energy die as specified in the power's description, and you can't use the power if it requires you to use a die when all your... Okay, You regain one die when you finish a short rest, and all die on a long rest. And you use... equals the spell save of this... Okay, so you use intelligence. You're an intelligence caster. At the very least, we're intelligence again. No verbal and somatic components to the spellcasting. I missed that. I skimmed. Here it is. It's literally the part I skipped at the bottom. Whenever you cast a scion spell, that spell doesn't require verbal or somatic components. Boom. It does kind of shit on the this... I do feel really bad for the what's the psychic sorcerer subclass called? The aberrant mind sorcerer. I feel bad for the aberrant mind sorcerer because I feel like their whole shtick is this, and this class just gets this. Yeah, it's subtle spell, so I guess it's a bummer for all sorcerers. But the aberrant mind sorcerer, their 6th level feature is just your ability to do this, but with just the spells from your sorcerer spell list, and you have to use sorcery points, I think. But it's like, I don't care. To be honest, that's not really make it or break it in any direction, you know? I think it's fine. I feel like that's an issue you can deal with if it ever comes up at the table. Let's see what we can do with these features. We get telekinetic propel and telepathic connection at level 1. As a bonus action, choose one large or smaller creature other than you that you can see within 30 feet of yourself, then roll your psionic energy die. Target has to make a strength save or be pushed or pulled a number of feet straight away or towards, I think. Pushed or pulled straight away from yourself 5 times the number rolled. So at level 1, it's going to be between 1 and 30 feet, or 5 and 30 feet. And the die is only rolled, you only lose the die if the target fails. That's nice. That's fun. I like that. That's a fun ability. I like that ability a lot. You have telepathy with a range of 5 feet. Oh, weird. I like that too. As a bonus action, you can expend one psionic energy die and roll it for a number of minutes equal to your scion level. The telepathy. The range of your telepathy increases by a number of feet equal to 10 times the number rolled. Okay, I like both of these features a lot. It is... I'm curious to see where it goes with everything else, but it is sort of filling a unique a unique void right now. And that unique void is there isn't a class that's core class ability is battlefield control. You know? And that's really what this is. That's neat. I like that. That's cool. We get Mage Hand. I bet it's invisible. Yes, sir, it is. Oh, yes, it is. What else do we get? And we get some spells. I do want to take a look. I do kind of want to take a look at the spell list. Just because I want to see the vibe of them. And then we'll look at the class. Because the spell list is boring. We're skimming it. Look, no damage. Mind Sliver is the only damaging spell. I bet Telekinetic Fling also does damage. It's a little bit. It's like Druid. It's like Bard. It's like Bard minus healing. It's like Bard with a little bit of Druid minus healing. That's exactly what it is. Okay. I accept. Bard with a little bit of Druid minus healing is pretty cool. Alright, I accept. Let's see what we get at level 2. At level 2, we get our Psionic Discipline and Psionic Modes. Ooh. I do declare, Mr. Beauregard. I think that makes sense for this class. This doesn't feel like it's supposed to be a damaging class. I bet, you know what though? I do bet we're going to get some damage options in the subclasses. That's where I think we're going to see some. I'm going to catch this fly. Okay, let's see what we get at level 2. Psionic Discipline. You learn further psionic techniques that are fueled by your psionic energy die. You gain 2 disciplines of your choice, such as Expanded Awareness and Insinuation. Ooh, I said that correctly the first time. Disciplines are described in the psionic discipline options sections later in your class. You can only use 1 discipline each turn, and only once per turn, unless otherwise noted. Whenever you gain a scion level, you can replace one of your discipline options with one you don't know. You gain 2 more options at 10 and 2 more at 17. So they're it sounds like almost like they're like invocations, but invocations that work like moves. And we get 2. What are they called? Let's take a look at those. Yeah, let's take a look at those. All right, psionic discipline options. So how many are we going to end up with? Let's also keep that in mind. So we start with 2. And then we're going to have 4. So we're going to have 6. A total of 6 by the end. Okie dokie, artichoke. I like the name of biofeedback. Biofeedback. These are like Battlemaster maneuvers. All right, let's see. When you cast a Scion spell from the Necromancy or Transmutation School. Ooh. That's an interesting way of categorizing things. You can expend 1 psionic energy die and roll it. You gain temporary hit points equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. Do you know what I really like about this? This is weird. Okay, so normally I think... like, there's a lot of stuff that's like... Spell schools are I feel like are getting more wishy-washy as things go. But for somebody that really likes power gaming, for somebody that really likes trying to like find the perfect build, having these, I wonder how many more are going to do this, but having abilities limited
Charge
to
complete.
Jesus Christ. That was my headphones. I apologize to everyone that just got a heart attack. I got one too. We can all... I hear a dog barking. Yeah, that was way too loud. But it's a little bit of like a puzzle game, figuring out which spells and which schools. I don't know. I like that. That's fun. All right, let's see. The issue is the evocation and conjuration one is weak compared to the others. We shall see when we get there, Joshua Smith. I shall keep an eye out for it. Destructive Thoughts. When you cast a Scion spell from the Conjuration or Evocation School... Oh, is it... Josh, we just got to it. We didn't even have to wait. Okay. This one seems underpowered, you say. When you cast a Scion spell from the Conjuration or Evocation School and a creature you can see succeeds a save against the spell, you can expend 1 psionic energy die and roll it. The creature takes psychic damage equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. How many creatures does this affect? Just you. So I could see why this feels underpowered, because at the end of the day, it's just a little bit of damage. And there's a lot of stuff that's more interesting than a little bit of damage. So I see that. The only thing I would say, and this is not me even, I haven't looked at the others. I don't know if this is underpowered compared to the others, but there is always going to be that guy that just wants to do damage. And this is a really nice one for him. You know what I mean? There's always going to be like simple Tony. He doesn't want to understand all the complicated nature of his character sheet, but he really wants to be the psychic guy because he's been watching Stranger Things. And you've tried to convince him not to be, because then he has to learn how spells work. He's like, I just want to do damage. And you're like, okay, you take this. This is what you do. No matter what, you're doing some damage. But I also think that if I was going to be playing this class, this is probably not one I would pick. Let's see. Devilish Tongue. When you take the influence action, you can expend one psionic energy die, roll it, and add it to the number rolled to the ability check. Whoa. I feel like that's pretty good. That's just a little mini bardic inspiration you have for yourself. This one is going to be very fun for those role players out there. Also, this is a really clever way of allowing you to be an intelligence-based class that can sort of use your mind to influence others without directly just mind controlling and charming. Do you know what I mean? Because you're sort of using your psionic energy to just enhance. I think it's good. I think it makes sense. Yeah, I like it. Let's take a look at Ego Whip. When a creature provokes an opportunity attack from you by leaving your reach, you can take a reaction to roll one psionic energy die and force the creature to make an intelligence saving throw. We love making creatures make intelligence saving throws. That's one of the strongest saving throws in the game, if not the. Because most creatures are a little dumb. On a failed save, the target's speed is reduced by 10 feet, and it subtracts the number rolled from the next damage roll it makes before the end of its next turn. Oh, that's kind of fun. Okay. You're sort of like slowing them. You don't want to be in melee with this thing? I bet there's going to be a subclass that is built around being in melee. That's what my guess is. But I guess we will see. We will see. Yeah, I think it's going to be the Metamorph. The Metamorph sounds like a, you know? Let's check out the next one. Expanded Awareness. When you take the search action, you can expend one psionic energy die, roll it, and add the... Wait, did I just read this one? Oh, no, it's the same as this one. I'm going to read that again because I got confused. Because this is the search action. Okay, when you take the search action, you can expend one psionic energy die, roll it, and add the number rolled to the ability check. Okay, so you can be better with your chatty or better with your eyeballs. Okay. This is going to sound mean. I can see why they made this thing a full caster. Because, I'll tell you why. Because even in just this tiny thing, this just little tiny section, I'm already seeing it dance a little bit with the Mystic in doing that thing where it can fill any niche. You know? Even just with Expanded Awareness and Devilish Tongue. And now, I know that's quite limited, but how many of these types of rolls are you making a day where you would need this anyway? So I can see why they're like, oh god, if we built a whole system out like this, it would just do that again. All right, let's keep going. Insinuation. When you cast a Scion spell from the enchantment or illusion school that forces a creature to make a saving throw, you can expend 2 psionic energy die and roll 1 psionic energy die. One target of the spell you see subtracts the number rolled from its save against the spell. Oh, that's quite strong. Expensive, but quite strong. Yeah, the fact that these are so limited is going to be a lot of what balances this against being a class that is filling every niche. But again, like if you expanded upon this, you can even see that like even in the unique, because a lot of the core class design basically just got cut and replaced with spellcasting. And the pieces of the core class design that are still here are still very branchy. They're still putting their fingers in all the little pots of play. You know what I mean? But I think this works quite well. Yeah, this is very strong. This is like empowered spell on some sort of hard narcotic or something. This is essentially you fail the saving throw. Because by the time you're level like what? Like 5, it's a D8. Yeah. That's huge, dude. Especially if you have a dungeon master that's running a reasonably balanced game. Why take out 2 die but only spend 1? Because it's very strong. The reason why you're losing 2 die but you're only rolling 1 is entirely a balance thing. Because keep in mind, this class is a full spellcaster. So when you have a class that's a full spellcaster, or even a class that's a half spellcaster, you have to treat its spellcasting as one of the most important parts of its kit. And spells that require a saving throw are normally a lot stronger than spells that require an attack roll. Not always, but often. So this is basically making it so a creature is going to get a penalty to their saving throw against one of your strongest class features. And that penalty is going to grow over time as you grow over time. And because of the way that D&D is balanced, even the new D&D still very much follows this rule of bounded accuracy. And what bounded accuracy basically means is that as your ability to hit things goes up, the armor class of the things you're fighting goes up, and kind of vice versa. So what that means is there's always a similar gap between, even if you're fighting creatures and you have a +5 to hit, you're going to be fighting a lot of creatures with a 13 AC. When you get to a higher level, maybe you're going to be rolling with a +10 to hit, but you're going to be fighting creatures with closer to like an 18 AC. You see what I mean? So it's like that gap between the numbers sort of stays the same. So getting somebody to minus a d6 from their saving throw would be very good at level 1 and at level 20. So the fact that you're not only doing that, but that dice is scaling too. So even though a d6 would be great at level 14, at level 14, it's a d10. So it's basically like I am going to decide that this spell is going to work most of the time. I think that is a reasonable clarity. How would Jean Grey compare to beings like the Emperor? That's a conversation for another day, my friend. I would say it depends on which version of Jean Grey and which version of the Emperor and who's writing the story. Jean Grey would probably kill a lot of people. The Emperor is mostly a dead person. He's mostly just a dead body in a chair. So Jean Grey could probably just beat the shit out of him. But there's like 1 billion people in Warhammer. So, it would, you know what I mean? At a certain point, the numbers get too big. All right, let's take a look at Inerrant Aim. When you make an attack roll against the creature and miss, you can roll one of your psionic energy die and add the number rolled to the attack roll, potentially turning a miss into a hit. If this causes the attack to hit, the die is expanded. All right, so this is just the accuracy Battlemaster maneuver. Jean is almost always more powerful than Palpy. Well, Emperor, not maybe Emperor Palpatine, but what about Emperor? I was thinking the Emperor of Mankind. And I don't know if Jean Grey, like the Phoenix Force is probably stronger than the Emperor of Mankind. But maybe not, because the Emperor of Mankind is kind of an elevated thing now. Like there's a lot of theory that the Emperor of Mankind sort of exists in the warp now as almost like a new chaos god. Oh, don't tell anybody I said that. The chaos god of discipline or oppression or honor or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, long answer to your question. If it was Emperor Palpatine, she'd kick his butt. If it was the Emperor of Mankind, she probably wouldn't want to fight him because she would go into the room and she would see a half-decrepit corpse in a chair and a bunch of mostly naked men wearing gold armor that were very confused. Psionic Backlash. Immediately after a creature you can see hits you with an attack roll, you can take a reaction to expend 1 psionic energy die. Roll 2 psionic energy die and subtract the number rolled on each die from the total. What? Of the attack roll? That's very good. In addition, you can force the attacker to make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the target takes psychic damage equal to the amount rolled. Whoa, this is so good. Why would you not? Am I reading that right? Okay. This is, you can use your reaction to roll 2 psionic energy die and get like a shield. It's basically the shield spell, but 2d6 instead of plus 5. And then damage on top of that? That's very good. That's very good. Well, you only roll 2 die. You roll 2 die. That number is both subtracted from the target's attack roll and the amount of damage the target takes. This is the only defense they get? Yeah, they're squishy. Alright. Squishy little guys. No armor proficiencies, and we haven't seen an unarmored AC thing. That's true. That's true. This is all a very good point. Listen, they don't call you Geostellar because you're Geo-lame. You know what I mean? The wording seems off to you. I mean, it's... I can't... The wording is a little bit... It's definitely a little chonky, but it's also just... They're dealing with semi-new mechanics, so they're probably also unclear of how they want to word it also, you know? Like... The idea that this is kind of confusing to understand, and the lack of the fact that you feel like there's not a lot of clarity between how many dice you're rolling here and whatever, that's the kind of thing that they probably will get feedback about and will change the way it's written to address. Usually that's how that works when you put stuff out to playtest, is it's a combination of people describing like things that felt really good or things that felt really bad or things that were confusing. So hopefully they'll get that info. Let's see what Psionic Guards does. At the start of your turn, you can expend 1 psionic energy die. Until the start of your next turn, you have immunity to the Charmed and Frightened condition and advantage on intelligence saving throws. If you are Charmed or Frightened when you use this discipline, the condition ends on you. That's cool. When you use Psionic Guards, you can also use another different Psionic discipline on this turn. Oh, that's right. They're all only once per turn. That makes sense, though. That's cool. I think the Monk is the only other thing that can remove the Charmed or Frightened condition from itself while it has it. I like that it just is at the start of your turn and is not part of the action economy. That's fun. Well, there's a lot of stuff. The Berserker, but they would have to choose to rage, correct? Or can they just choose to end the condition? I know that they can. I know that when they rage, now they have immunity. Well, I didn't mean immunity. I mean, immunity is one thing, but this isn't immunity. That's why this is interesting. Because they can still get charmed or frightened. They can just end it on themselves if they have psionic energy die. This is a class. You want to take a look at the whole document? It's a new class, Unearthed Arcana, playtest class from D&D. The Scion. How many of these options do you get? You get 2 at level... I'll tell you in a second. You get 2 at level 2, and then you get 2 more at level 10, and 2 more at level 17. So you really don't have that many. You're going to have... realistically, you're going to have 2. No, not a lot. But, like, Psionic Backlash is so good that I sort of feel like you have to take it. Right? I mean, you don't have to. I guess you could take this one, gives you temporary hit points. There's some defensey things out there. But this is so good. Let's take a look at Swift Precognition. I almost wish you got more of them, because they're all pretty interesting, you know? When you cast a Scion spell from the Abjuration or Divination School with a casting time of an action, you can expend a number of psionic energy die to change the casting time to a bonus action. The number of die equals 1 plus the spell's level. Okay. That's boring. This is just swift quicken spell. That's boring. I really like feature. I like this feature. I like this feature. I like all the new weird stuff. All this stuff that's like these things, expanded awareness, inherent aim, devilish tongue, they're fine. But I think this class, I feel like the new stuff is way more interesting, and like, I don't know. I like the newer stuff. I want there to be more of that. Like, what I want is I want you to get more of these options, and I want you to not pick and not be able to take these ones. I just want you to get more cool powers, because these are cool. What do you think about all the spell school stuff being exclusive to Scion spells? Oh, I get. Well, I think that's just meant so that these features are only you multi-classing into some other class. You couldn't be using these features with those other classes' spells. But if you mean how do I feel about the Scion having features that are directly linked to spell schools, I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting. I was saying earlier that I think it lends to a lot of potential, like, really fun, like, theory crafting of how to build characters. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't do this as much anymore, but I'm not going to lie and pretend that this isn't true, that one of the things I used to do the most when I was playing the most D&D, when I was really getting into it, was just coming up with cool characters, coming up with cool builds, trying to think of different things that I could make happen at the table. And when you have features like this, where you have features that tie to specific schools of magic built into a larger system, I think it's like just a thing to play with for those people that like that. Oh, the Scion is the type. I mean, Psionic is a type of magic in the same way that, like, Warlock is a type of magic. It's just a name. These guys are casting spells using spell slots in the same way that any spellcaster is in Magic. Or not in Magic, in D&D. But I think the idea of where their power comes from is different, even though technically they're using the same system. In the same way that, like, a cleric has some of the same spells as a druid, but one is a divine, magic comes from divine powers and one comes from nature. Or a bard, and their magic just comes from them. Diddly, 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 diddly. Let's look at Tactical Mind. When you take this study action, you can expend 1 psionic energy die, roll and add the... Okay, so this is just the same as the other skill ones. Yeah. I get why the skill ones are there. I almost wish the skill ones weren't options, but they were tied to, like, subclasses or something. Because I don't know. They're so much less... Like, they're so good, but they're so uninteresting. And I don't like the feeling of like, people like options. I get it. But there's not a lot of options you're getting here. Anyway, that's my little thoughts about that. Okay, those were the psionic disciplines. Psionic disciplines are pretty cool. I like them. They fill a weird space because you get they're like not quite cantrips, but you get a lot of uses of them. And you don't get a lot of things to do with them. So whatever thing you pick, you're going to end up doing it a lot. Especially if you end up taking one that's like a skill check one and one that's only tied to like a reaction or an opportunity attack, because you're not in charge of when that happens a lot of the time. So you're going to be pushing this button all the time. How do I feel about them being locked to Scion spells? I think that's fine. I think that is a million times easier for balancing for multiclassing. Like, if they weren't tied to Scion spells and I was reviewing this... Hey, Redmer. Redmer, did you know the fancy mug broke? Still keep it right by my chair. Now I have a less fancy one. Like if somebody sent me this class and the spells weren't uniquely tied to this class, that would be a huge criticism. That would probably be the main thing that I talked about, and then I'd probably go on a rant about how when you're building a class, it has to work well multi-classing, especially at lower levels. That's what that would be. So I'm pro it. I think it's a good move. All right, let's take a look at psionic modes. You have honed... This is also level 2. You have honed your psionic powers to act as both a shield and a weapon in battle. Finally, we're getting some... You know what's crazy about this class? Everything is bonus action so far, except for Mage Hand. You notice that? And do we get any weapon proficiencies? I don't think we do. Yeah, we're just blasting them with our brain blasters. Okay. As a bonus action, you can choose one of the following modes, granting you certain benefits for 1 minute or until you use this feature again. So we also get like a mini rage mechanic. Okay. It's a lot. It's a lot of things at by level 2. By level 2, we have Spellcasting, we have psionic energy die, we have 2 psionic disciplines, and then we have psionic modes. That's a lot of... That's like 4... That's a lot of things. That's a lot of things. That might be too many things to have at level 2. Maybe. I don't even mean from a power perspective. That's just a lot. Like, think about like a warlock. A warlock by level 2 has... They have spells and invocations. And I guess their first level subclass feature. But that's a whole less thing. And each of those things is a lot of things. All right, let's see what these do. But this is a lot for level... This is a lot by level 2. As a bonus action, you can choose one of the following things. Okay, we get a little mini rage, either attack mode or defense mode. Attack mode. Damage from your weapon attacks, Scion spells, and Scion features ignores resistance to psychic damage. Oh, that's basically just flavor. In addition, when you roll damage for a spell, you can expend 1 psionic energy die to re-roll a number of damage die up to your intelligence modifier. Okay, so you can do more damage, and you can break through resistance to psychic damage. This almost feels like a ribbon feature. Defense mode. You have resistance to psychic damage. In addition, whenever you fail an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw, you can take the reaction, expend a die, roll the die, and add the number to the save. This is so much better. Defense mode is so much better than attack mode. There's going to be a very rare occasion where attack mode is going to be nice because you're going to be fighting like some mind flayer nonsense. But being able to use your reaction to just boost your saving throw is huge. Wisdom is like the second most common saving throw in D&D, I think. Behind dexterity. Okay, so this is interesting. Listen, I'm not opposed to this. Here's what I'll say. I feel like this feels like a lot at level 2. All of these features are fine individually. They feel like a little bit extra. I don't feel like they are answering a question that is being asked. Like, I think if you took these out, you wouldn't notice. These don't feel like they're adding a whole lot of oomph. And they're taking up a lot of space in my brain. Like, it's a whole separate resource system, and it's a mode you enter for a minute. I don't know. It just feels like a lot for level 2. And, like, what are these doing? You're doing, like, a little bit of extra dice. You're re-rolling some damage on a spell. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot. I don't really even have a problem with what any of the things are, but it's like, just feels real jammed in. Feels real jammed in. Okay. At 3rd level, we get subclasses. We're going to take a look at those in a second. They also both eat your energy die too. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. We get an ability score increase. Let's see what we get at 5. When you finish a short rest, you regain expended psionic energy die, but no more than the number equal to half your number of dice rounded down. Whoa, what are you doing? What is that sentence? I hate that sentence. Guys, when I review your homebrew and I get frustrated at sentences that you write, they look like that. So just know that you are writing at least as well as some of the Unearthed Arcana sentences, okay? When I'm giving you a hard time. Oh my god, what are we doing with our lives? Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Okay. What are we doing with our lives? Why are we writing it like that? I know why we're writing it like that. We're writing it like that because we want you to have some sort of recovery system for your psionic energy die, sort of like arcane recovery. But we don't want to just copy arcane recovery exactly. So instead of just having it tied to something that we could write in a simple, straightforward way, the resource is going to be baked into what the resource is, so we have to write a crazy sentence to make it work. Okay, gotcha. That's a crazy sentence. I'm just going to read that sentence again. This is a real sentence. When you finish a short rest, you can regain expended psionic energy die, but no more than a number equal to half your number of dice round down. That's a real sentence. That's crazy. What are we doing? Guys, come on, man. Wizards, please. You can't be doing me this dirty. The kids gotta learn, man. They gotta learn how to write good sentences. You have to help me. Because you're the anchor. You're supposed to be the anchor. Please. Please. You have to ask yourself, is the feeling of the game mechanic worth the sentence that is needed to explain it? And you don't want to be at a point where you have to ask yourself that. You know? Oh, yeah. What are we doing? What are we doing? You guys write such good sentences sometimes. I'll tell you what, guys. There's a lot of stuff in the new books that I strongly disagree with how it's written, but I understand it because it's like ordering things sort of like a video game as opposed to like a sentence. So it sort of makes sense if you're reading it like video game stats in terms of like how attacks and certain monster abilities and stuff are written now. Like, I don't love it, but I get it. Spells too. But this is just a mess. This is just a mess. If somebody sent me this ability in a document and I read this would be the moment where I decided in my brain that I wasn't going to read their whole homebrew. Because I would be like, if they wrote a sentence like that, there's going to be a lot more sentences like that. And that is not what I want to read. But that would be the moment where I was like, okay, maybe this person needs more of a conversation about sentence structure and flow and writing in such a way that the person who's reading it is sort of taken on a journey through it. Like, that is the sort of feedback that I would give that person. I probably would stop talking about game mechanics and just take that sentence and try to rewrite it in a way that felt a little bit more comfortable. Anyway, you should... I hope you guys do that, wizards. Because this is a fine ability. But you're using... Like, you use the... Look how the word number is right next to the word number. And I know that's grammatically correct, but we all know that when you use the same word twice in a sentence so close together like that, the brain does a little spark. You know, it doesn't like it. And it makes you go... That's my biggest honestly, that's my biggest criticism of the whole thing so far. Straight up. I really like a lot of this design. And I really appreciate how they are trying to like lean into finding what space this can fill alongside a wizard or a druid or a cleric or whatever. But man, oh Manischewitz. Guys, what are we doing with that sentence? All right. let's look at what else we get. And then we'll look at the subclasses. So that hurt my brain a little bit. Psionic Surge. When you roll initiative, this is level 7, by the way. When you roll initiative, you can expend 1 use of your hit point dice and regain 1 expended use of psionic modes. What is that? That's this thing? So you get 1 of these free whenever you roll initiative by spending a hit dice? Why are we throwing spending hit dice in? Okay, I think it's fine to get a use of psionic psionic modes. And I also think it's fine to have a feature where we are expending hit dice as a resource. I love that, actually. That's a thing that I see in Homebrew a lot, and I think it's a fantastic way to do it. But it feels very random here. Like, I'll tell you what it feels like. It feels like this should use psionic energy die, but everything uses psionic energy die. So you didn't want it to use psionic energy die. You think maybe they're trying to model like somebody's like, oh, and straining themselves and getting a nosebleed? I accept that. But I feel like if I was going to do that, if I was going to give a feature that was trying to represent that, the impact of the feature would not be attack mode or defense mode. It would be some big bombastic thing or a more generalized enhancement, you know? Like it would be the ability to make telekinetic propel go way farther or something, or like these neither of these are super cinematic, you know? In addition, after you roll one or more psionic energy die, you can expend one of your hit point die, and treat any roll as a 1, 2, 3 as a 4 instead. Okay, I like this. I think this is cool. This feels random. This feels cool. See, this makes sense. This is exactly what I was just saying, where it's like you want the force of you're straining yourself to be like you're making a bigger impact. Making number go up is a perfect way to do that here. Psionic modes is fine, I guess. I'm just not... I think that, you know what I actually think it is? I think the actual thing is I am perplexed by why this feature is here. A couple people in chat have mentioned that it's like it's an older feature that's sort of been brought along for the ride. So maybe it sort of feels out of place in my brain for that reason, because it's like maybe this class wasn't built with this as like a particular anchor, so it's just sort of there. I don't really know. What is this? Schmutz. But I think my confusion around the game design intention of the way this is built here is just bleeding into my feelings about this. That's what's happening, I think. Yeah, the modes could totally be rolled into subclasses. I agree. I mean, I don't even have a problem with them. It's just it's just so much happening already by level 2, and it's a very it feels weird to be getting a whole new resource system, and I don't know. It just seems like a lot for a very ribbon feature feeling payout, with the exception of the second half of defense mode, which is very strong. All right. Any other features? We get the epic boon, and then we get level 20 enkindled life force, and after that we'll go over the subclasses. I don't know how long this stream is gonna be. I wasn't even sure if I was gonna stream. I really wasn't planning on streaming today. But I was like, I want to read this new Scion class, and I was like, you know what? I should just do this on stream, and people can hang out and watch it. We can talk about it together, and I can sort of lament or rejoice. All right, let's see what this does. Once per turn, when you expend one psionic energy die and roll it for a scion feature or psionic discipline, you can expend 2 of your hit point dice to roll 2 additional psionic energy die and add the number rolled to the total. Okay. I like this also, but it does put you in a little bit of a weird position. Now, this isn't to level 20, so it actually kind of doesn't matter. But because these use your hit dice, this is a really strong feature. So, yeah, this is where you shove really far. Yeah. It's true. But here's my only concern. My only concern is, let's say you're level 20, okay? You have a lot of uses of this because you have 20 hit die. But you also regain hit die really slowly. And I guess what I don't know, and I would have to play test to see how it felt, is does the fact that you have a lot, is that actually balanced in a way that is fun for them recharging really slowly? Like, does the player that... Is a game still fun if a player uses all 20 and just dominates a session and then doesn't really have any for a session? Hit die, I mean. Or the ability to use this, you know? I don't know. It's probably fine, but it is what I'm thinking about. That's always the issue with having a resource based on hit die. Now, this is like half a resource because it's not really a feature. It's like a feature enhancement, so that maybe also helps. Okay. Let's see what's going on with these subclasses. My guess is we're going to get a lot of flavor in the subclasses. Excuse me. Here's the classes. Or the spells. Ooh, spells. All right, music. This is the one song that like sometimes hits so right. But not right now. I feel like the hit die power should be rolled in further, but that's just me. No, Geostellar, I don't actually think that's just you. I feel quite similar. I wasn't going to say anything about it because I felt like I was being a little bit harsh with my sentence criticism earlier. But it does feel a little off to have something that is a resource system that you get one thing at 7th level and then one thing at 20th level inside of a class that already has more than one additional resource system. Because it's like this class has spells, it has psychic mode uses, it has psychic energy dice, and now it also has hit die as a resource. So it's a lot of resources, you know? I think hit die could have been an interesting thing if it was helped fill space of some of those other resources as opposed to being a new one on top. All right, let's take a look at these subclasses. By the way, if you guys want to take a look at the document yourself, there it is in the chat. Bababooey. The Metamorph. This is the one that is hopefully the coolest. Because I want you to turn into monster parts. Because that's just the only thing that's ever worth doing. Your mastery of psionic powers turns inward. Your own flesh becomes like clay to you. And you mold... there's a mistake here. Space. You mold... you mold it to turn it... to turn it is not great. Into the perfect vessel of your psionic powers. Experience in manipulating your life energy also enables you to adjust the life force of friends and foes alike. The interesting thing about this flavor text, have you guys ever read the book Flowers for Algernon? In the book Flowers for Algernon, his writing sort of starts to get worse as his mind starts to waver. That's what's happening here. This is an immaculate opening sentence for flavor text. This is an okay second part of a sentence into a spelling mistake, into using the word it in a way that's kind of gobbledygoo, and then into a sentence that starts really awkwardly. You have all the information in here, but the style is stumbling as you write more. Good opening sentence, though. All right, let's see what features this Metamorph gets. Alter self. Cure wounds. Ooh, they get some healing. Inflict wounds, lesser restoration. Oh, that's a lot of spells. You get 4 spells at level 3. Okie dokie artichoke. I don't think it's on purpose. You know what I think it is? I think that they were spending a lot more time focusing on trying to get the wording of the mechanics and the features. And they probably wrote these flavor texts very quickly. That's 99% sure what it is. Because the main thing that this matters so little in the context of this for the purposes of doing a playtest. You know what I mean? Maybe in the new edition, most get 4 spells at level 3. So I accept if I just am wrong. Not wrong, but I might just not be aware. But I like the spell list. I think the spell list is good. It's interesting that this is the one that's getting the healing spell, and it's making me curious if other subclasses are going to get healing spells, or if the Metamorph is going to be sort of like the brawler healer, which is an interesting idea. All right, let's see what we get. Level 3, organic weapons. You can shape your limbs into weapons. Whenever you take the attack action or make an opportunity attack, you can reform your free hand into one of the following organic weapons. Bone Blade, Flesh Maul, or Viscera Launcher. I love the names. The names are great. Your limb immediately returns to its previous form after your organic weapon hits or misses its target. Oh, that's kind of fun. So you don't have to deal with, like, arming or disarming. You can just My hand's a weapon. I attack you. My hand's in my hand. Super simple, easy. It's basically making it so these attacks are almost like a cantrip. Got no problem with that. What do they do? I bet they use our intelligence. Whenever you attack with the weapon, you can use your intelligence modifier for the attack and damage rolls. Yeah. And it can deal psychic damage. That's fun. I like that. So we're a little hex blade, a little mind blade. Now let's see what we get. We get bone blade. It's a finesse. It's a simple finesse weapon that deals 1d8 piercing damage, and you have advantage on the attack roll you make with the blade if at least one of your allies is within 5 feet of the target and the ally doesn't have the incapacitated condition. Wow. So this would be an amazing multi-class with a rogue, because it's finesse, so you can sneak attack, and if you have an ally next to you, you get sneak attack and advantage. Normally, if you have an ally next to a target, you get sneak attack, but you don't automatically get advantage. Now we get sneak attack and advantage. That's cool. And because it could just be our hand, we could go we go into the ballroom unarmed. Oh, we're dancing with the Duchess. They're dancing with the Duke. We do a little spin move. We spin by our friend. As we spin by them, we transform our hand into a bone blade. Sneak attack, advantage, finesse weapon, simple melee, and we make it psychic damage just to make everyone confused. Then we keep on dancing. That's pretty good. That's pretty dang good. Oh, it's 100% only finesse for the purpose of, feats and multi-class and stuff, because you're using your intelligence. Normally, the only point of making something finesse is so you can use dex. I guess if you wanted to go like dex build with this thing, if you wanted to be a not particularly high intelligence scion, it would be useful. Let's see what Flesh Maul does. Your fist and forearm coalesce into a hardened mass of flesh and bone. The maul counts as a simple melee weapon, deals 1d10 bludgeoning. A creature hit by the maul has disadvantage on the next strength or con save it makes before the start of its next turn. That's also quite good. You know what's really fun about this is you can switch it every turn. So like if your ally wants to cast blindness deafness on something, you can turn your hand into a flesh maul, smack him, and then he has disadvantage on his next con saving throw. Your buddy casts blindness deafness, disadvantage on the save. That's fun. But that's also quite situational, you know? So it's nice that you can switch it up. And then Viscera Launcher. I know this isn't like Poop Launcher, but that is the first thing that I thought about. Your hand and forearm transform into a crossbow made of muscle and sinew that fires a bolt of bile. It's a good idea. I made a magic item like it once, a long time ago. It was a special magic item that you ingested, and it turned your forearm into like a weird little parasite that lived in your forearm, and it split your forearm apart into a crossbow and then came back together, and you took damage every time it opened up. It was cool. I had a monk player who had it. How does that work with Psionic Push? Is it a strength to save? Psionic Push, what's Psionic Push? That first level feature? Propel? It's a strength save, yeah. All right, let's see what this one does. Your hand and forearm transform into a gross thing. The launcher counts as a simple ranged weapon, range of 30 feet, long range 90 feet, so it's not super long range. It deals 1d6 acid damage on a hit, once on each of your turns. When you hit a creature with an attack roll using the launcher, you can do an extra 1d6 acid damage to the target. Okay, I mean, that's a pretty big hit. So once per turn, you can do 2d6 plus your intelligence modifier damage. Acid. That's fun. Yeah, Geostellar. I think that the Maul feature is much more designed for you to combo with allies. It's the lightning. Yeah, it is the lightning launcher, but it's acid now. Eat your heart out, artificers. It's like your special armor thing, except it's a damage type that's way less resisted. Suck a dick. Level 3, extend limbs. As a bonus action, you can expend 1 psionic energy die. For the next minute, you gain the following benefit. Your reach increases by 5 feet, your speed by 5 feet. When you cast a spell that has a range of touch and a casting time of an action, you can make the spell's range 10 feet. Okay. Ooh, I'm going to say something a little bit weird. We are now at a point where I feel like we don't... Too many things require psionic energy die. Like, this is good, but when are you going to use this? There's so many more valuable things that we need to spend our psionic energy die on. I do... You know what? Okay. It's a little bit different because this is a full spellcaster, so we don't need to be as concerned with you getting to use all your toys as much. But I do see this dancing with the monk a little bit, where like when the monk gets all their cool martial arts stuff, like their multi-punch and their swift abilities. I can't remember the names of anything right now. That's cool, but then you get like subclass features later that use key points also, and now they're sort of like, do I do my regular monk stuff or do I do my subclass stuff? And the way that they sort of made that work was they tied a lot of them together. So a lot of the times with a lot of monks, you'll see you spend a key point, like when you use Step of the Wind, you get something else. When you use Flurry of Blows, you get something else. And that is sort of a way that like the monk was helped in that regard. But I don't know. Am I being crazy for thinking that like this feels like not a great use of psionic energy die? I mean, it's meant to combo with a lot of spells on their spell list, right? Haste has a range of touch, lesser restoration, cure wounds, a lot of stuff does. I think that this is just meant to combo with their things in general. One thing that I will point out that you should think about with your own design is that when you see something for D&D, usually, I would say 9.5 times out of 10, almost nothing in a class or a subclass is designed to create a really tight insular loop. Like, you are never going to see an official class that gets a whole third of a subclass feature like this devoted to comboing with one spell on your spell list. That sort of headspace is very D&D player headspace, because you are envisioning sort of like the cool thing you want to do. And that is a really important part of game design, but you need to take a step back and acknowledge that what you want to do is just one of the many things that can be done. So when you're coming up with game mechanics, you're not trying to build a game mechanic that creates a tight little loop. You're trying to create a game mechanic that creates the opportunity for a whole variety of potential interactions and loops and opportunities. Because the people that are going to be using your homebrew, whether you're writing for Wizards of the Coast or you're writing for your table, are going to interact with that thing in way more environments and experiences and encounters than you have in mind as a designer. That was a little bit of a rant, but I wanted to say it because it's good to think about when you're trying to be a game designer. Trying to write things, especially for something this open-ended. At level 6, we get extra attack. And we can cast 1 Scion cantrip that has a casting time of 1 action in place of those. Okay, so we're a little bit of a geesh. We're getting real... I mean, we were that before, but now we're real geeshy. Whatever that new cantrip is. Bone Blade. Ka-cha! What's the new cantrip? Where is that? I do want to... Where's the new cantrip? Where is it written? All right, I'm not going to find it right now. Let's just keep looking at the subclasses. We'll find it when we find it. All right, let's see. Level 6, Quick Healing. When you cast Cure Wounds, you can expend 2 psionic energy die to change the casting time to a bonus action. Very nice. When you do so, you can roll 1 psionic energy die and add the number rolled to the total amount of hit points restored. So, Geo, this would be a perfect opportunity for them, I think, to use the hit die thing again. Don't you think this would be such a cooler feature? If instead of it having anything to do with psionic energy die, you could just expend a hit die to cast Cure Wounds as a bonus action. You could quicken Cure Wounds with expending a hit. I don't know. I like that. That would be cool. But it's fine. Level 10, Mutable Form. When you use Extended Limbs, the duration increases to 10 minutes, and you gain one of the following benefits of your choice, the effects of which last until Extended Limbs end. Okay, that whole feature is called Extended Limbs. All right, let's see. So when we use that Extended Limbs feature that didn't really seem super good before, maybe it'll be stronger. Now let's see. We can either get a Stony Epidermis. You have advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration. In addition, choose one of the following damage types. You gain resistance to it. Okay. Superior Stride. While you aren't wearing armor, you can take the dash action as a bonus action. You have a climb speed and swim speed equal to your speed. Or Unnatural Reflex, +2 bonus to AC. Not to Dex also. And your body, along with any equipment you're wearing or carrying, becomes pliable. You can move through spaces as narrow as 1 inch and can spend 5 feet of movement to escape from non-magical restraints and the grappled condition. This feels silly. Why? I guess because you're turning into like a Jello man. I was like, why does a psychic person get to be so little? These are all really good. These are all really strong. I like that you can switch it up. They're all quite strong. Quite strong indeed. This guy's going to be a menace. Life-bending weapons. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with your organic weapon, you can expend 1 psionic energy die and roll it. Each creature of your choice within a 10-foot emanation originating from you regains hit points equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. Additionally, 1 creature of your choice in that area takes necrotic damage equal to the number rolled. I guess you can do this every turn. But it's not very exciting. Is that just me? I feel like it's not very exciting. Everybody gets 1d12-ish hit points plus your intelligence modifier, and somebody takes 1d12-ish damage. I mean, I see why it's there. It's like, this is very much a healer / fighter. So it does tie those two ideas together pretty well, all things considered. Yeah, I mean, it's quite unique. I'm not saying it's not unique, but it almost feels kind of late. Like, I feel like there should be some element.
Did you skip the bonus action Cure Wounds?
No, we talked about the bonus action Cure Wounds. Did you miss that part of the video? Quick healing. We talked about it. Also, thank you for the 2. I feel like, I just feel like the, I don't know. I like when 14th level features feel more like they take something that you have been playing with already throughout the class and like heighten it to a really extreme, or give you a new thing that's like heightened and really extreme. And this is a cool mechanic, but I feel like if this is a core mechanic of the subclass, we should have gotten it earlier. It's very similar to Wither and Bloom. Yeah. All right, give me 2 seconds. I'm going to go refill my mug. I'll be back in like 2 seconds. We shall continue. BRB. 1 sec. I'm streaming with my door open. My room's so fucking hot right now. Oh my god. I don't know why my room gets so hot. I should have maybe set my computer up in a different space. But I don't have that many spaces to choose from. Oh, it's nice with the door open. You guys don't even notice the door's open. It's not even on camera. Why was I so concerned? I'm a fool. I apologize. Apologize for my foolishness. Please forgive me. Kinda new. Does creature imply that it can't heal a person player, only creatures minions? Any living thing, including a character, is a creature. So if you have a spell that says you target a creature within range, that can be a monster, that could be a robot, that could be a player character, it could be a hermit, could be a little rat. A creature is a thing that you are the way that a lot of D&D mechanics use real world words, but have much more mechanical definitions. So like a creature, there are lots of things in D&D that are a creature categorically, but out of the context of D&D probably would not be a creature, like a robot, for example. This is the Scion. It's a psychic class. It's the new Unearthed Arcana from the official boys at Wizards of the Coast. We'll see if they're going to be making it into something real or not. All right, let's see what the Psi Warper gets. I was going to guess Teleporter. And I'm right. I'm a king. Ooh, let's see if the flavor text is a little cleaner. Psi Warpers tune their psionic powers to manipulating the space between objects. Psi Warpers tune their powers to manipulating. Come on, boys and girls. What are we doing here? Capable of teleporting across the battlefield and creating vacuums in space, a Psi Warper is never in one place for too long. I would accept the second sentence reluctantly, but I don't love it. All right. You get all the ideas across, but clean up your sentence structure. Make these flow. Come on now. Don't start a sentence with that. Start with the action and the actor, not the descriptor. It'll be a stronger sentence. Level 3. What do I mean by that? Like, no, we're not going to talk. They'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. I don't think this was AI. I would be surprised if they were using AI in any of their like playtest documents. That would be such a risky, dumb move. Like the risk reward there is so bad. Like what's the reward? You spend 20 minutes less work, less than 20 minutes. Like writing this sentence, writing this doesn't take that long. And if they got caught, they would get they'd get such shit for it, and they're trying to make a new class. They definitely, I'm not going to say they definitely did or did not use AI because I don't know, but I would be really surprised if they did. That would be such a strange, crazy move. In a playtest document of all things, you know? You missed most of the stream. Does it look good so far? Yeah, I like it a lot so far. There's definitely some places where it's unpolished, but it's a playtest. And I think that it's a little bloated and it's kind of like using too many resource systems at the same time, but I think the core concept seems pretty solid and pretty fun. And the first subclass seemed really fun too. Okay, let's see what this bad boy gets. Expeditious Retreat, Featherfall, Misty Step, Shatter, Blink, Haste, Banishment, Dimension Door, Steel Wind Strike, Teleportation Circle. All right, yeah, so we're teleporting. We're teleporting. You can cast Misty Step without expending a spell slot. You must finish a long rest before you can cast it in this way again. You can also restore your use of it by expending 1 psionic energy die. So you basically get 1 for use of Misty Step, and then Misty Step costs a psionic energy die. That's good. It's very, very similar to the capstone feature, I think, of the Feywanderer Ranger, no? They get Misty Step and a bunch of free uses. They get a lot more than just 1 free use, but... Oh, the flavor text... Wait, you think the whole thing feels like an awkward draft or just the flavor text? I agree with the flavor text. I think the whole thing does not feel like an awkward draft, though. I mean, I think it's clear that there's a bunch of ideas they're curious to see what people think about. So there might be more in here than is intended to be here at the end, because they're curious about multiple features but they didn't want to release like multiple versions of this, you know? But I have to say, it seems strong, but it seems a lot more manageable and a lot more closely in line with like D&D design than the Mystic ever did. The Mystic was also like 30 pages. What else do we get? Warp Propel. When a target fails its saving throw against your telekinetic propel, instead of pushing it, you can teleport the target to an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet of you that is horizontal to you. That is so cool. I like that a lot. This is a really fun 3rd level. Okay, why is this good 3rd level, boys and girls? Let's talk about it. Because what are we getting from these 2 features? This is really nice here. What are we getting from these 2 features? We're getting kind of the only thing you need to be a teleporty guy. We get 1... the ability to teleport ourselves, and 2, the ability to teleport other people. Boom. We're done. Really solid. Really solid. Really, really solid. Love to see it. Love to see it. Also, the way that this is integrated with the telekinetic propel is perfect. Like, that's the kind of thing that I think we want to see when we're building classes, where if we're going to build a core new feature, don't just plug it in and forget about it. Build upon it. Let it be. It's a core feature. Let's explore it, right? Let's make it a core feature. Let's make it feel like a core feature. And this is a great example of doing that, where all scions get telekinetic propel, and I hope other ones get other ways that they're telekinetic, that their core class features do unique things. But like, this is such a fun, simple, love it. Oh, I really like it. Also, fun fact, you can use telekinetic propel on allies if you want, and that's probably a little bit limited in how useful it's going to be. Now, it's fucking amazing, because bonus action teleport an ally to somewhere else within 30 feet of you is amazing. That's so good. It combos well with a lot of stuff, but I actually think it's better to use as a thing to help allies than anything else. Because keep in mind also, it's a bonus action. I guess you could 1-2 punch people with like bonus action, teleport, spell, cast spell, or vice versa. But I think actually though, if I'm going to, you know what? This does not work really well with spike growth, because spike growth is better if they're dragged along it. So this is Spike growth is actually stronger if you're pulling them, not teleporting them. But that's just spike growth, I think. Would it be broken if they took out the word horizontal? It would be a lot stronger. Yeah, think about it like this. Because if you can bonus action make something fall 30 feet, technically if a creature falls a certain distance, it takes damage automatically, and it lands prone. So it would basically be a bonus action for you to deal damage to a creature and knock them prone at a distance, which is pretty strong. Also, from like an ally perspective, it would limit it that way too. Because you can't like put people up on ledges or stuff. I mean, you could, I guess, throw them off a cliff if you put them in a place of space that was horizontal to you and there was no ground below it. That would work. Yeah, Josh, exactly. Cliffs still work fine. But if you could throw them up in the air, you wouldn't need a cliff. You could just always do it. Okay, level 6, Warp Space. When you cast Shatter, you expend 1 psionic energy die. You can expend 1 psionic energy die to modify the spell so that the radius of the spell sphere becomes 20 feet. So it becomes a fireball. In addition, creatures that fail the save against the spell are pulled straight towards the center of the sphere, ending in an unoccupied space as close to the center of the sphere as possible. Oh, man. And at level 6, we're getting another spell feature. This is too many. Okay. I'm going to read the other one, then I'm going to talk about how I feel about both of them. Teleporter combat. Immediately after you cast Misty Step, you cast one of your you can cast one of your Scion cantrips that has a casting time of an action as part of the bonus action. Okay. So, you know what's a bummer? All of these are cool. This is cool. This is cool. Like, they're both really fun features. The problem for me is that, remember, guys, this class is a full caster, and we are now building a subclass that has 3 out of the 4 first features we get require you to cast a very specific spell in order for you to feel like you have a subclass. I talk about this a lot when people send in Homebrew, where if you build a class, if you build a subclass for a spellcasting class, you got to be really cognizant of the spells they have access to. And if you sort of force them down a rabbit hole of casting certain spells to accomplish certain special subclass features, you don't want to make that too many subclass features, because you want them to be able to be a spellcaster. Like, and part of allowing someone to be a spellcaster is there's a lot of different interpretations of what that spellcaster is going to feel like, even within a subclass. So, I don't know what to say here exactly, because, again, I like these features a lot. Teleporter combat's going to feel awesome. Warp Space is going to feel awesome. But overall, at least by level 6, it's kind of a bummer that, like, everything is tied to our spell slots. Like, if we don't have, you know what I mean? Like, everything's tied to our spells. I want something, like, we get this other feature that's really fucking cool. This is really great. But it's a lot of stuff that isn't giving us something unique. It's just sort of forcing us to play in a certain way. Let's take a look at level 10. When a creature you can see makes an attack roll against you, you can take a reaction to expend 1 psionic energy die and choose a willing creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself that doesn't have the incapacitated condition. Long sentence. You and the willing creature teleport, swapping places to each other. The creature becomes the target of the attack roll. That's fun. I like that. I like that a lot. I don't even know if that needs to be a 10th level feature. Like, this could be the 6th level feature, I feel like. I don't know if we need to wait for 10 for this. It's good. But it's not going to, you know, it's not changing everything. And you're already very limited in how you're going to use this. It requires a reaction. It requires a psionic energy die. You got a lot of reaction and psionic energy die stuff already. I would move this to level 6. Guys, this is turning into a critique, and I wasn't intending it for it to. I was intending to just read this. I can't help but say how I feel. Level 14, Mass Teleportation. As a magic action, you expend 4 psionic energy die and choose huge or smaller creatures within 30 feet of yourself, up to a number of creatures equal to your intelligence modifier. That is, I do disagree with this sentence structure so bad. Why not just say, it doesn't matter. Each of the chosen creatures is teleported to an unoccupied space you can see within 150 feet of you. An unwilling creature that succeeds on the wisdom save, an unwilling creature that succeeds on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC is unaffected. This is a really fun capstone. I like it. There's not a whole lot of thought to it that I have, other than it makes sense that the capstone of the teleporty scion would be big teleporties. You know? Say it. Describing the creatures and how far away they are from you before saying the number of targets makes no sense. If I was going to write this sentence, I would say, choose a number of huge or smaller creatures equal to your intelligence modifier within 30 feet of you. That's how I would write that sentence. And I feel like I don't know if that's more right. It's likely not more right, because one would hope they have editors that are making them write more grammatically correct than my brain thinks. But my brain wants to scream, this is so awkward, by having the number of creatures at the end of the sentence. That's what I was going to say. How useful would it be? Oh, it's going to be super useful. 150-foot teleport is basically anywhere on the map in 90% of battle maps you're going to use, if not off the map. And it's get anybody in or out of any roleplay or non-battle map situation by some margin. 150 feet, that's like out of the building. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be quite useful. Maybe 4 psionic energy die is an expensive cost, but also the fact that this is very situational, but the huge or smaller is also a big deal. That's not a small deal, especially when you keep in mind that you're going to be level 14, you're going to be fighting some big boys. This is like, okay, you're fighting a bunch of giants, you teleport them into the air and they land and crush a building, you know? Yeah, Geostellar. There's no way that a teleporter class gets better without a battle map. Like you're teleporting people around. Like I think that's an unrealistic hope for it to work well without a battle map. This is gonna it's a class that is built around moving objects and people in space. If you don't have a sense of what that space is, it's quite limiting. You know? Let's take a look at the Psionic. What do they get? They get Cloud of Daggers, Levitate, Shield, Thunderwave, Slow, Telekinetic Crush, Odaluk's Resilient Sphere, Stone Shape, Telekinesis, Wall of Force. Okay, so they're the classic psychic. When you use your telekinetic propel, you can impose one of the following effects on that target. Boost. The target's speed is increased by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. That's fun. Disorient. The target can't make opportunity attacks until the start of its next turn. Telekinetic Bolt. If the target fails a saving throw, it takes force damage equal to the number rolled on the psionic energy die. That's all we get at 3rd level? That feels really lackluster. Am I missing something? Is this better than it feels like it is? This doesn't feel that strong. No opportunity attacks is fine, but that's also like kind of nothing. 10-foot movement speed is similarly fine, but kind of nothing. And it's a little bit of damage. I don't know, man. I feel like we could get a whole other 3rd level feature here, and this would feel fine. This is a very underpowered 3rd level feature, if you ask me. Let's take a look at 6th level. Even though we're getting a bunch of options, they're all so minor. It's like, except for Telekinetic Bolt, less so, but Disorient and Boost are both secondary effects of cantrips. This is a good way to think about it. You know? Okay, let's look at these 6th level features. Empowered attack mode. While your attack mode is active, you gain a fly speed of 60 feet and can hover. Ooh, that's quite good. And when you cast a Scion spell, you can add your intelligence modifier to 1 damage roll of the spell. I mean, a fly speed is really good. Everything else is kind of whatever. The fly speed is good. That makes it so the attack mode is actually pretty good compared to the defense mode. That's quite good. Quite good. Does the dragon monk get the ability to fly at 6th level? I think so. Well, propel plus boost is like 40 feet bonus movement at 3rd level. I mean, it's quite limited. That's a very limited way of thinking about it, because propel isn't 30 feet of movement. It's quite limited. It's 30 feet in a very specific direction based on the target's orientation to you. So you can push the creature towards you or away from you 30 feet. That's not 30 feet of movement. So don't you try to squeeze in some nonsense in me, or I'm going to call it out. That's a bad argument for these being good. It's a bad faith argument. Let's see what else we get. Rebounding Field. When you cast Shield in response to being hit by an attack roll and cause the triggering attack to miss, you can expend a psionic energy die to launch the force back at the attacker. The attacker makes a dexterity saving throw, roll 2 psionic energy dice. On a failed save, the target takes force damage equal to the amount rolled, and you gain temporary hit points equal to the amount. On a successful save, the target takes half as much damage only. That's quite good also. A lot of these subclasses are really leaning on you casting very specific spells. I don't know how I feel about it. It's really not the design choice I normally would go with. I wonder if the reason for that is because there's so many spells in the game that so like directly just do what a psychic thing should do. You know what I mean? So it's just easier to be like, well, you're just going to get this spell a lot because it's basically answers the question of this psychic type move. We're not going to make a whole new thing. That makes sense. I don't know if I agree with it, but it makes sense. Enhanced telekinetic crush. I think that, I mean, Geostellar, is that in quotations because, why is that in quotations? Are you asking that question or are you just saying it? You're confusing me. If you're asking it, I can tell you. Because there is sometimes a reason to describe an entire mechanic when you could just use a spell instead, and there's sometimes not. We talk about it on stream. Enhanced Telekinetic Crush. I'm saying the thought process I have had many times. It might be a similar one that the designers used. Yeah. I think it's a good thought process to have, but the problem is if you rely on it too much, your whole design turns into, I didn't make anything, just go look up all these different spells. And then it doesn't feel like you made anything. You can end up in that space where it's like, sure, your thing is called a scion, but it doesn't actually feel different than a wizard that just picked the right spells. And if you can make something just a wizard but with different spells, then the question starts to be like, well, is that okay? Like, do we like that? Or is it worth it to not rely so much on just use a spell instead and build something that feels unique? And if we can't build something that feels unique, it's like, okay, then why are we spending all this time building this? You know? It's a lot of work to make one of these things. You might as well make something that feels like it does something new. Not saying that this isn't doing something new, but I am saying that whenever you rely too much on subclass features or class features in one specific spell, it can start to feel that way. This subclass I actually think handles it a lot better than the other one, than the Warp Space. Warp Space had a bunch of stuff that was tied to spells. This is just really one so far. When you cast Telekinetic, let's look at 10th level, Enhanced Telekinetic Crush. When you cast Telekinetic Crush, you can expend one psionic energy die to modify the spell so that whether a creature fails or succeeds on the saving throw against the spell, its speed is halved until the start of your next turn. That feels uninteresting. See, that's uninteresting to me. That's like, okay, when you use this spell, it's better at slowing guys. Okay. Don't you wish there was something a little bit more, I don't know, tied to your general psionic spell usage, or I don't know, something? Too much of stuff based on one spell. Like, this is not an interesting subclass feature. This is just boring. 14th level, Heightened Telekinesis. When you cast Telekinesis, you can expend 4 psionic energy die to modify the spell so it doesn't require concentration. Alright, it's literally same feedback. We're relying too much on spells, man. I get it. I think that maybe it's fine, but it's boring. It's just boring. I don't know. It just doesn't feel new. Like, if you're building a new class, I've seen iterations of this, you know? I don't need to see that. I want to see something new. Telekinetic Crush makes a creature go prone normally, so their speed is halved instead. That's very good. Like, listen, I'm not criticizing the power here at all. The power is solid. It feels like a little bit of a bummer that all of these subclasses are so heavily reliant on just altering spells. You know? I wish that more of them were adding their own new things. Let's take a look at Telepath. And I can see it's probably part of the game design, right? Like, every single one of them. And maybe the Flesh Warper less so. No, the Flesh Warper too, because the Flesh Warper has stuff tied to cure wounds. So they all do that. So there's like an intention to that. So I guess like I don't know if I agree with that game design choice is maybe where my head is at. Like, probably what ended up happening was they had this thought. This is probably the thought process they had. We're not going to build a new psychic. We're not going to build a new psionic mechanic entirely. We're going to use spellcasting. We have a bunch of psionic adjacent spells already. We're just going to make sure that they get access to those spells, and we're going to let them cast those spells in unique ways so that they feel like So that's almost like encouragement for them to lean into using those spells, like a reward for them leaning into using the psionic spells. And because it's easier than building a whole new game mechanic to do something that we already figured out how to do for the spells. I totally get it. I 100% get it. That is sound logic. I am not against that logic from any sort of perspective of like, yes, that makes sense. But I'm still going to say that in my heart, it is less exciting to every time I read a new feature, it's just when I cast this sort of spell, I get a thing. When I cast this sort of spell, I get a thing. Not even this sort of spell, this spell. Like, think about it like this, man. Think about it like this. Let's pull game mechanics out. Let's pull everything out for a second and just think about it as like raw human. When you are like, when you're like 14, 15, 16, 17, whatever age you are when you started playing D&D, or 33, whatever age you were when you started playing D&D, it's so exciting to like look at your character, look at the cool new features they get at higher levels, and like be excited to get those features. And it is not as exciting feeling when those features are just, when you cast this spell, you get this extra thing. Like, it feels good to get a new thing. Do you know what I mean? It feels so special to get something new. Like, it's exciting. It's like, and you want to work for it. And it's awesome. And when you get it, it's like, I got this new toy. I want to show it off. And I think that these don't feel like new toys. You know? Pinky Mouse! Pinky Mouse! Pinky Mouse! Thank you! Thank you! Thank you! Thank you for the Prime! I almost called you Pinky Moose for a second because I was looking at all the zeros. And the feedback that I have, that's literally the same feedback that I give you guys when you send me Homebrew. I don't know if I word it that way, but it's like when you rely too much on things that are already existing, it could just take some of the shine out. Some of the special glow in my heart, you know? Pixie, thank you for the gifted sub. Very kind. All right, let's take up, I think this is the last one. Yeah, this is the Telepath, the final. I have 69 Twitch subs now. Nice. This is the final subclass. Telepaths are masters of mind magic. They use their psionic powers for all matters of the mind, whether they bolster the mental defenses of allies or probe the thoughts of others undetected. A telepath can be a bastion of psionic aid or a crafty manipulator. That's some solid flavor text. Listen, I'm going to be harsh when I think the flavor text is bad. I'm going to give flowers when you got to give flowers. This is solid. This is solid flavor text. Perfect. This sentence is a little long. The second sentence is a little long. Let's also acknowledge that. This could probably be 2 sentences. But it's a lot of information you packed in. Good opener. Pretty solid sentence. The tentacles, yes, the Fathomless Warlock gets a unique version of Everard's Black Tentacle at 10th level. But that is the only level that they get a unique version of a spell. At every other level, they're getting something really new. And the new things they get are crazy. Like the summoning a tentacle and whacking people with it and stuff. The Fey Wanderer Ranger also gets 2 unique castings of spells for 2 separate features. One is they can summon Fey at level 10, and then one is they get a bunch of free Misty Steps at level 15. But it's more okay feeling there, partially because those are 2 features after they have already gotten quite a few very unique features that make them feel really unique amongst Rangers. But yeah, that's the main reason, actually. That's the only reason why it's okay. Like, if there are other features were unique castings of spells that would... Even that, I would stop that sentence there. Alright, let's take a look at what this guy gets. 3rd level, Telepath spells. Oh, I should just read the spells. Bane, Command, Detect Thoughts, Mind Spike, Counter Spell, Speak with Plants, Compulsion, Confusion... Awaken, modify memory. Solid spell list. I like it. I like the direction of you can bring things to life. That's really fun. Bring their minds to life. Boom, boom, boom. When you cast Detect Thoughts, you can expend 2 psionic energy dice to modify the spell so that the spell doesn't require spell components or concentration. And the target does not know you're probing its mind if it fails the wisdom save. That's very good. That's very good. That's strong. That's going to be one of those features that some dungeon masters are going to hate. Because Detect Thoughts is a great spell, and people rarely use it to the full potential of its power. And a lot of the time is because it's like there's an element of you don't want to like make people know, you don't want people to know that you're casting it or that you're doing that, you know? And this just alleviates all of that. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna say. Here's what I'll say. I'm gonna make one more comment about basing class features off of spells, and then we're gonna move on from it. I think if you are going to build a class like the Scion with the intention of each of the subclasses having some core class spells, I think you might want to reconsider how you build those core spells into the class and how it feels to use them. So like just for example, let's talk about like we'll just stay here. If I was going to build a class that really relied on spells, not just all spells, but like specific spells, I would probably build more base foundation around how you could use those spells uniquely. So like, for example, I would argue that any of these core psychic spells like Detect Thoughts or the Cure Wounds one, or any of those ones that were like based into like the core subclass, they probably should, maybe you can't counterspell them, you know? Maybe they don't trigger detect magic because they're not magic, because they are using your innate psionic abilities. Something like that. Like there needs to be something extra to make it so it doesn't feel like it's just spell but unique. There needs to be something that makes it feel different than spell. I know that the core spellcasting doesn't require certain components, but again, I would argue that that's not enough if you are building core class features around specific spells on top of a class that is a full spellcaster. You building subclass features around core spells, if you're not a full caster, I think it makes a lot of sense. But you're a full caster. You want your subclasses, I think, I don't know. At the end of the day, I just don't think it feels that special. And I think the more important thing is it needs to feel special and exciting. There needs to be more structure so that the spells feel less like spells and more like psychic abilities. Yes, exactly. And I don't know exactly where that structure should be. And maybe it doesn't actually need that. But as I'm reading it, and I really felt it the most in the Psi Warper and the Psi Kinetic. The Metamorph didn't really feel that way at all. And the Telepath doesn't really feel that way as I'm skimming it either. Or at least not as much. But yeah, I don't know. So, like maybe just take the spells that are tied to the subclasses, like in the way that you're enhancing Detect Thoughts, or you're enhancing Shield, or enhancing Telekinetic Crush, and have them exist uniquely in the class in some way. So maybe not all of the spellcasting, but just part of it like that too. All right, let's take a look at Telepathic Hub. You have telepathy to a range of 10 feet. When you expend a psionic energy die as part of using telepathic connection to increase the range of your telepathy, For the duration of the effect, you can simultaneously contact a number of creatures equal to 1 plus the number rolled on the psionic energy die. That is a crazy long sentence. That's all one sentence. That's crazy. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, two things. You have telepathy to a range of 10 feet, and when you use telepathic connection, you can pick more creatures to be psychically connected. That's pretty solid. I like that too. This is not a super unique feature, but it's also like you kind of like there's a bunch of stuff that does versions of this, but I think you kind of need it on the telepath. It's like half of the point of being a telepath is like mind talk. So it's almost like you can't avoid getting one of these in here. Can the soul knife link multiple people though? Why roll a die for that? I think two reasons. One, I think to help balance its strength somewhat, because it will get higher on average as your die goes up. But I also think because they built their whole resource system around these things being dice. When you build your resource system around a thing being dice, you try to roll those dice as much as possible. You know? It feels weird to use a die as a resource and not roll it. So you're gonna bake that in. Let's see what we get at level 6. Empowered defense. While your defensive mode is active, whenever you make a saving throw, you add 1d4 to the save. Don't you already get... So it just makes your defensive mode way more defensive. In addition, while your defense mode is active, you can extend this benefit to creatures you are telepathically connected with. Ah! Interesting. Interesting. It's not super evocative, but it's very good. I wonder if there would be a way that you could make it so it wasn't just tied to using your telepathic connection, but like if there was like it's a shame that this doesn't exist, but if there was like a subcategory of like communication spells or like mind communication spells, so this could just apply not just to telepathic connection, but anytime you had a telepathic link with another creature. So like, because there's other spells that make telepathic links. So it would be cool if it could extend to those sorts of things too. Potent thoughts. You add your intelligence modifier to the damage you deal with any scion cantrip. Huh. Alright. Boring, but fine. Wouldn't that bring up the spell issue again? No, not really. The bigger issue is there's not a game mechanic for... There's not like a condition called telepathically linked. That's the issue. Because what I'm saying is it should be able to work whenever you're telepathically linked. I think that would be cool. I don't know if it'd be too strong. But there's all sorts of different ways to be telepathically linked. The Aberrant Mind Sorcerer telepathically links people. There's spells that telepathically link people. The Soul Knife telepathically links people. So I don't think it's really a spell issue at all. I think that would probably be too strong if it could do that. But it would be really cool. Telepathic Bolstering. You have telepathy out to 30 feet. All right, so your telepathy just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It does feel a little silly that you have to be a 10th level scion to have the same telepathy as a level 1 Ghostwise halfling, you know? Like, telepathy out to 30 feet is good, but it's not that good. I feel silly that we have to wait this long. I guess we have the telepathic connection feature earlier, where we can roll our die and we can boom, spread our mind out, so it kind of covers that. That just feels silly to me. No, I don't think they all use the same wording. I don't think they all use the same wording. I don't think telepathically linked is like anything close to like a condition in D&D at the moment. There's a lot of things that do things when things are telepathically linked, like the aboleth knows the desires of a creature that it's telepathically communicating with, and the flump, I think, can overhear telepathic communication around it. Maybe it can like if it's not the flump, there's a creature that can listen in on telepathic communication. So there's like stuff around it, but it's not like a condition in the normal sort of way. All right. Now that we have the same telepathy as a ghostwise halfling, what else do we get? When you or a creature you can see within range of your telepathy fails an ability check or misses an attack roll, you can take a reaction to expend 1 psionic energy die. Roll the die and add the number rolled to the d20, potentially turning the failed into a success. The psionic energy die is expended only if the check succeeds or the attack hits. Okay, so at 6th level, we get the ability to bolster saving throws. At 10th level, we get the ability to bolster attack rolls and ability checks. I mean, this one has a really focused game mechanic idea for sure. Maybe more so than the others, kind of. Although I will say the synergy of the 3rd level features for the Warper are amazing. That's really nice too. There is some really, as much as I'm being a little critical here, there is some very good design going on in these subclasses. Let's see. Isn't that just BL or BI? What's BI? Big B's indignatious fart? Bardic Inspiration? Bardic Inspiration? Yeah, but Bardic Inspiration isn't a reaction. It's a bonus action. So Bardic Inspiration has to be given preemptively. This is something that you can use reactionarily. So yes, it is Bardic Inspiration, but a little different. Is Bardic a reaction in 2024? It might be. Do you want me to check real quick? Let's see. Where are you at, Inspiration? Nope, still a bonus action. Alrighty. Let's take a look at the 14th level feature. Yeah, dude, no worries. We are all still... a lot of people haven't even played the new version yet, so... being unclear as to how new rules work and needing to look them up or being wrong about them is... We're all going to do it a lot. Don't even worry. Alright. 14th level, Scramble Minds. When you cast Confusion, you can expend 4 psionic energy die to modify the spell so that the radius of the spell sphere becomes 30 feet. Whoa, it becomes a lot bigger. In addition, creatures under the effects of the spell roll 2d10s, and you choose which roll determines their behavior on their turns. All right, so kind of the same thoughts as I had of the other things. This feels a lot better here, I think, than it did. This having a capstone feature that is a modification of a spell feels a lot better here, I think, than it did on the psychokinetic. Just because it doesn't, we're not getting a lot of stuff based on spells. Like, we're getting the detect thoughts thing, and that's kind of it. Everything else is pretty unique, right? So it feels a little bit more earned. Would it have been funnier if you could just choose what they did instead of rolling? I think it would have definitely been funnier. I don't know if it would have been, funner. I think it would have been funner for the player. if not more time consuming. That might be that's kind of part of the issue is if I pick what everyone does, that's just a lot of time. But it might be too strong. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Because aren't some of the confusion options just like you do nothing, you waste your turn? So you could just choose the optimal option all the time. There also is something fun to chaos. Like, we can't ignore the joy of chaos, you know? All right, so there's still a little bit more to look at. There's some new spells, and then there's some new wild talents. I think we'll look at those. But that's the class pretty much. What do you guys think? I got critical throughout, especially in the subclasses. But I really like a lot of what's going on here. Like, I think there's a lot of really interesting ideas. I think that it's definitely going to need a little bit of like fine-tooth comb, sort of maybe moving some stuff some places, maybe reorganizing how some ideas are implemented mechanically. But I think like this seems very usable. I think if somebody wanted to try this in my campaign, I don't think it would be frustrating. I think it would be fun. I think it would be really fun. The Warper is definitely the most fun. Was that you, Gio, that said the Warper was your favorite? Warper is definitely the most fun. Only for this. I mean, just this alone, man. At 3rd level, you get your coolest feature at 3rd level. Just teleport everybody everywhere. Come on. Teleporting is almost always cool. My favorite X-Men growing up was Nightcrawler. I love Nightcrawler. All right, you guys want to look at the other stuff? Should we look at all the spells, or do we want to skip the spells and look at the feats? Oh, we could look at the spells, I guess. I don't really care as much about the spells. Oh, yeah, I agree, Gio. I mean, actually, I don't know if I agree. I think they all have pretty strong... Here's the thing that you have to keep in mind, is that the telepath and the psychikinetic don't need as much of a unique identity because they're so what you expect from a scion, you know? That they kind of weirdly do have a really strong identity already. Sort of like if you were going to make a dragon race or a dragon class, you wouldn't need to worry about it having that unique of an identity because it would be a dragon. And dragons are like, boom, I know what that is. It's a very distinct idea. The spells are just the weaker versions of the Tasha's spells. Fling is interesting. All right, so we won't read all of them. If someone notices one being radically new or different, we'll take a look at it. Psionic Spirit is new. Summon Astral Entity. Lasts up to an hour. 3rd level. Let's see what this thing does. AC is 11 plus the spells level plus 2 in Crystal Entity only. So your Crystal or your Ectoplasm or your Ghostly. You can move through stuff when it's a ghost. It can do a little psychic damage. Does crystal piercing damage or ectoplasm psychic damage. And it slows people. It's not that different from the spirit summon. Or the undead. Okay. Where's Fling? Did I miss it? All right, maybe it's somewhere I missed. We'll see. Telekinetic Crush is also a new one. You create a field of crushing telekinetic force, 30-foot cube, 5d6 force damage, and knocked prone. What 3rd level? That's pretty good. I like that. That's solid. Oh, here's Fling. I found it. Okay, this is a cantrip. This is the new Alt Eldritch Blast. You brandish the ammunition used to cast this spell and fire it at a creature within range. Oh, use oh, interesting. Well, wait, what? Okay, cool. You have to use like a little bullet or something, or an arrow. Ranged spell attack. On a hit, the target takes 1d10 force damage and the ammunition is destroyed. So you could have like a little, like a psychic cannon, like a little gun. That's crazy. It's expensive. It's the most expensive cantrip there is. Oh, it is Gambit. Oh my god, it is Gambit. Oh, you're totally right. You're totally right. It's Gambit. I don't know if that's it's totally Gambit. Okay. No cards? Miles, man, I would... Listen, if your Dungeon Master doesn't let you use a deck of playing cards to do this, your Dungeon Master's being mean. They're being a meanie. They're being a big meanie. Because you know a deck of cards would be so fun to do. Okay, let's take a look. So we have these wild talents. These are like alternative origin feats. Let's see. You gain the following benefits. Lightning Jolt. This one's called Atmokinesis. Lightning Jolt. Once per turn, when you cast a spell or hit with an attack roll and deal bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage, you can change it to lightning damage. That's fun. You know Shocking Grasp. You also know Fog Cloud. You can cast it without using a spell slot. You don't need to use verbal or somatic components. And then when you reach 3rd level, you get Gust of Wind. Okay, so this is like an alternative, like, spellcasty. It's spellcasty, but lightning. Biokinesis. Are they all going to be that? Let's see. You can roll 1d4 and add the number rolled to the total hit points restored when you cast Restore Hit Points to creatures. You know, Spare the Dying, Healing Word, and Arcane Vigor. Are they all going to be this? I'm curious if any of them do anything different. Clairsentience. When you take the search action, you can give yourself advantage on any ability check you make as part of the action. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You get Guidance, Detect Good and Evil, and then later you get See Invisibility. These are really fun feats. These are really fun feats. Really fun feats. Like, these are just great to give anybody. Anybody that wants to be a little psychic. Cryokinesis. Once per turn, when you cast a spell or a hit, you can make something cold. Get Ray of Frost, Armor of Agathis, and Ice Knife. No higher level spell. Empath. You can get advantage on influence checks. You get Charm Person. Calm Emotions. All right. Boring. Flesh Morpher. All right, let's be weird. Give me something weird. When you make a dex check, when you make a acrobatics or sleight of hands check, you add a bonus equal to your proficiency bonus. No, equal to your intelligence modifier. And you can use this proficiency bonus times per day. You get Long Strider. You get Alter Self. These are actually fine, but they're not awesome. They're fine. They're not super exciting. These are fine. These are a great way to help flavor a character, but none of these are going crazy for me. They're all basically just different versions of innate casting with like a little bit of something unique, which is cool. I think that these are the types of feats, like, I'm not going to read one of these feats and be like, oh, I could now make this character. But I think these are perfect feats for, like, somebody that is trying to round out a character, you know? Like, if I'm like, okay, I want to be a monk and a little peasant boy, but I want to just be a little bit of pyrokinesis, just a little bit of fire inside this little heart of mine. Then, boom, you take pyrokinesis as your origin feat, and you're there. You can telepathically communicate with a creature within 120 feet of you. Mind Sliver, Dissonant Whispers. Now let's see what this one does. You can do better at deception and persuasion checks. You get minor illusion and disguise self. Psykineticist. When you dash, you can increase your speed by 10 feet. That's kind of funny and cool. You get telekinetic fling and thunderwave. Pyrokinesis. You get to do fire damage. You get produce flame, burning hands, and scorching ray. All right, which one is our favorite? I think they're all solid. They're basically all the same thing. They're all like, hey, do you want to be like a vibe of slightly psychic? Take this as your origin feat, which I think is solid. You like Psykineticist? Which one was that one? Telekinetic Fling and Thunderwave? Yeah, that one's pretty solid. I also kind of like, I like Flesh Morpher. I like the idea that you can like wiggle your hands into different shapes to do things. Like Flesh Morpher would be good if you were going to play like a fighter from like a fighter from like a town that was next to radioactive runoff. And you were like, I'm going to be a Battlemaster fighter. And then I take the Flesh Morpher feat to represent my like irradiated lineage, you know? Or like Biokinesis would be great if you wanted to be like any sort of like druid or bard that was like about like plants and like, I don't know, I feel like this one feels like you're just like, oh, I'm throwing mushrooms at people. Mushroom attack, mushroom, eat my mushrooms. I don't know why. Iceman, obviously, if you want to be Iceman. Like, cryokinesis, okay, Iceman is one thing, but how about this? Like, what if you're like, okay, I want to be from the Shadowfell, and I want to really lean into the sort of frozen elements of the Shadowfell. So, but I'm going to be I want to be the Shadow Monk. This would be a perfect, you take this on the Shadow Monk. Now you have a little bit of that element of like cold, you know, that helps fill out like, oh, I'm from the Shadowfell. I am a Shadar Kai. I am of cold and shadow, you know? Empath would also be good if you're like, I want my character to like, they used to be like a guidance counselor or like a, not a guidance counselor. Yeah, guidance counselor or like a what's the name of the person that like talks to kids in school when they like get into fights? Guidance counselor. It's like, yeah, I'm a barbarian now, but I used to be a guidance counselor. So I'm taking empath. Therapist. That too. Hey, could I get your quick thoughts on a 3.5 homebrew creature? This is something I found years ago. One of the first D&D things I ever found, nearly got me into it. I've never played D&D 3.5, so you could tell me about it, but I'm not gonna go look it up right now. That's the whole class. I'm gonna be honest, boys and girls, creatures of the realm. I think it's going in a good direction. For a playtest homebrew, this is solid. This looks fun. Yeah, I agree. I think it looks really fun. Like, I think not only does it look fun, it looks really testable. Like, I know that the playtest feedback is they're going to put out the poll, I think, tomorrow. But this looks great. This is it's so different than what the Mystic was. And it's much simpler in a lot of ways. And I think that simplicity only starts to become a detriment in a couple places in some of the subclasses. I think, though, overall, it works really well. And I think that there's a lot of stuff that they are doing in how they're leaning in. Like, if I could give any feedback or any suggestions, it would be in the same way that in some of the subclasses you get unique benefits when you use telekinetic propel. Lean more into that. Like, you give us, some of the subclasses get unique things when we use our psionic power or unique things when we use our psionic modes. I would make sure that all of them are getting that. And I would lean into that sort of stuff and less reliant on spells, but more. But overall, it seems fun. And the names in the Flesh Warper one are so fun. The Metamorph. the flesh maul, the viscera launcher. Like, that's great. There's a lot of different iterations of void dragons that have existed throughout time. You can share it in my Discord if you want, but I don't think links work on the video. Yeah, guys, that's it. That's the class. I don't really have much more to say. I kind of just wanted to talk about the new class. I wanted to read it with you guys, see how you felt about it. I think it's mostly really fun. And I'm really curious to see what they do with it. You'd flavor the launcher as puke? Of course you would. Of course you would. All right. I think we're gonna wrap things up, friends. We're not gonna do that much more tonight. I wasn't even expecting a streaming today, but I am streaming on Wednesday. So Wednesday we are doing another Homebrew Maker stream. So if you are a sub on Twitch or a member on YouTube or a patron on Patreon, you can send in information about your D&D campaign and ask us to make some homebrew for you. And we will make that homebrew for you. We'll make it live on stream. We'll take all of the suggestions, we put them on a big wheel, we spin the wheel, and we'll do 3 or 4 different pieces usually, depending on how much they are and how long they are. And that's Wednesday. So if you are a member on YouTube, a patron on Patreon, a Twitchy on Twitch, you can find all the info in the Discord or in the member section on YouTube. But in the meantime, thanks for hanging out. I hope this was interesting for you guys. I want to playtest the Scion. I like it. I think it looks pretty good so far. To me, it shows a lot of promise. It shows a lot of promise. I'm really curious to see how much changes between this iteration and when it hopefully comes into fruition. But that's all. We're gonna wrap things up now, okay? Okay. I love you. I love you. Bye. Goodbye. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, Wednesday. Also, there's a new long-form video out on my channel. You should go watch it right now. It's about a pirate crew with a secret aboleth thing going on. You should check it out. You get NPCs for you to use in your game. NPCs. 100 years. All right. I love you. Bye.